Noon here on News Radio 1040 WHO. I'm Jen Green filling in for Steve while he's vacationing in Disney with his family. And I'm joined in studio by Bob Vanderplat. Iowa for Freedom, you are the state chair, and if people want more information, they can go to iowaforfreedom.com.
Correct.
We're talking about the retention vote for Iowa's Supreme Court justices. It is a right and a responsibility of Iowans to keep their judges in check because they're not elected. And this is our way of being able to let them know if we think they're doing their job well or not.
And a simple gauge to that is, Jen, is if they will do this to marriage, a 161-year tradition, the law of nature and the law of nature's God, one man, one woman, designed for procreation. If the Supreme Court will do this to marriage,
they do it too?
none of your guarantees, none of your rights mean anything anymore.
Right.
And that's why people need to vote no on these three Supreme Court justices when that comes to that section of the ballot.
Okay, well, as I said before we went out to break, I want to know, what does victory look like for Iowa? What does Iowa for Freedom want? I mean, what is their victory in this case? And then what happens starting November 3rd?
Well, I think we take it in steps. Number one is I think we're experiencing victory already. And what I mean by experiencing victory already is we have people talking about the Constitution more than ever today. We're having people talking about separation of powers more than ever today. Any presidential candidate that comes into Iowa today is getting asked about separation of powers, the role of the courts, should these justices get voted off or not.
Even lower ticket candidates are getting the same kinds of questions.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Constitution?
Yeah.
What do you have a Constitution? Have you ever read the Constitution?
So the people are being informed, and to me that's a win. That's a victory. Now obviously the ultimate victory is if we remove three justices off the bench. Because when we remove three justices off the bench, it will send a dynamic message to the entire state of Iowa that we will hold our courts in check if they want to make law or govern or amend the Constitution from the bench. But it will also have a dynamic ripple effect, and this is what David Barton's talking about. When you have a judge in California who usurps the vote of 7 million people.
I know, it's unconscionable.
And so instead of saying we're a government of the people, by the people, for the people, according to the ruling class, we're a government of the courts, by the courts, for the courts. The founders' greatest fear was you'd get too much power in the courts and you'd have tyranny, not liberty.
Did you see what happened in Florida just today?
No, I didn't.
The Florida Supreme Court ruled that the ban against gay adoptions was unconstitutional starting today. And that was with the support of Governor Christ, who at one time was against it, but now he's for it.
Yeah. Well, Governor Christ seems to be a lot of things to a lot of people, depending on who he wants to be at the time. But I think it also will send a message even to give hope to a state like Florida, if that's the case, a state like Arizona, where a governor and a legislature are very clear on what they want their immigration laws to be, basically reflecting the federal law. But now it's in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Which makes no sense.
So what it is that we're running in the danger zone of any time you have a controversial issue that you don't believe will be supported by the people, by their elected representatives, run it through the courts.
Right.
If we run it through the courts, they'll take control, and then we will get what we want to have.
Right. Eventually, because it seems as though when I say these folks, I'm going to say the folks that believe in the whole idea of this living constitution that can change according to their whims and their wants and their political agendas. These folks never give up. I mean, it's like wave after wave. If they lose, they come back, and they lose, and they come back. And I realize that the same-sex issue has been on the ballot in 31 different places, and it's been voted down all 31 times. And yet, this is like an attack from the side. You guys always talk about war strategies. This is another affront. And they just keep coming back. And if people aren't aware of what's happening and the freedoms that they are trying to usurp from us, then we're going to wake up one morning and our freedoms are going to be completely gone. We're going to be like that frog in a pot of boiling water.
And we're closer to that than what we might even realize. There's no doubt that Iowa was targeted as being a sympathetic state. We had sympathetic judges on the bench that would start this ball rolling.
Well, that's just scary.
Yeah, Judge Hanson in Polk County, who's the one who really got the ball rolling. He spoke at Wartburg a couple nights ago, And he said that our effort that we're doing with Iowa for Freedom to tell people to vote no on the retention of 3 Supreme Court justices is either misguided or it's a complete abuse of the retention system.
How could it possibly be an abuse, Bob? If that retention vote is built into our process and our system, how could using it be an abuse?
Well, you see, the retention vote to us is to hold a court in check or to hold them accountable. A retention system to a judge like Hansen or the ruling class is just pat us on the back, retain us, let us keep making law and governing law, and let us amend the Constitution from the bench, and just keep affirming us.
Oh.
But now we're there to the point of like, let's get the retention vote out of there.
Sure they don't.
If the
want
people are going to really exercise their right of we the people, let's get rid of the retention vote. When I did my press conference announcing this effort, that we're going to focus all of our attention, our entire network, all of our resources on the ousting of these 3 justices, former Supreme Court Justice Mark McCormick said, quote, these people, meaning people like you and me, and maybe even
the Iowan that wants to keep their freedom.
Exactly, that we don't get it. And he said these,
we don't get it?
Yeah, that these
What?
people don't understand middle school civics.
Ooh, you were the wrong person for them to say that to.
And my comment back is, well, we fully understand middle school civics, but more than that, we understand the Constitution. But they don't want us to understand the Constitution.
No.
And so therefore, this is a great opportunity, and I'd encourage anybody who's listening, go to our website, iowaforfreedom.com, but more than that, take ownership of this issue and be organic in nature. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, get on the phone, do door knocking, do whatever you can to let people vote no on these Supreme Court justices. Because you want to stand up for your freedom, and the best way to do that is vote no on these 3 justices.
I've been in